Hi guys, I'm Blue and welcome back to Our Glass Hearts. Alright, so I've never done a storytime video on this channel, and for legal purposes, I'm gonna say that this story is completely fictional. None of this happened, and I am not lying about it being fictional. Alright, now that I got that out of the way, I can get into the story. So this probably happened a couple years ago. It was a much younger me. I remember I was in my room playing video games or doing something kids do, and one of my parents came into my room and say, look, there's kittens in the backyard. And me being a curious little kid, I'd go outside in the backyard, and there's literally a pile of kittens just sitting there. And I think to myself, wow, I've never seen this before. I've never even seen kittens. I'm not an animal person, so the fact that I just saw them, it was just like, oh, they look cool. But the closer I got to them, the more I started to realize that they looked very sick. They had crust or something all over their eyes, and it was very disturbing. I didn't know if they were gonna be okay. I figured that if I left them there, they'd probably die in the cold. So I decided to get a box, empty out a box, fill it up with clothes and blankets or something that we didn't use anymore, and I took it out into the backyard, and I put the kittens inside of the box so they would be warm, so they wouldn't be cold. Keep in mind, this was a cold part of the year, so I put them in the box so they wouldn't get cold, and I tried feeding them. I don't really know how to feed kittens, but I remember just getting like milk, more milk, and just trying to feed them, and for the most part they did drink some. And I figured that that should keep them full enough to when we can give them to a shelter. So I remember we tried calling a few shelters that we found online in our area, but they weren't answering the phone. It was a weekend, and I think it was a Friday or Saturday. So we tried calling shelters, and no one would take them. I remember our last resort was taking them to Petco, and they said they didn't take the kittens, so they gave us a number of other shelters to try. We tried calling them, it didn't work, they were too far away, and it was getting very dark. So I remember asking my parents if I could keep them in the house, and they didn't want them in the house. So I took them in the backyard, left the box tipped over so they can walk in and out as they please. And me being a kid, a very naive kid, thought that it would be a good idea to leave a glass of milk right next to them. Because I figured that, you know what, they'll get thirsty throughout the night. They probably have not eaten in days. So I'm going to leave that glass of milk beside them in case they get thirsty. So I remember going to bed that night and just hearing meowing. And I figured it's just them playing around or talking or whatever cats do. So I go in the backyard the next day, curious to see how they are, if they're still even there. I woke up, went in the backyard, and the first thing I see is a glass of milk spilt over, and one of the cats is completely soaked, stuck to the ground, literally stuck to the ground with his eyes closed. And I look inside of the box, and it's covered in feces, and there's only two cats in the box. They're on top of each other, and the one on the bottom is meowing, and the one on top isn't moving. So at that point, I didn't know what to do. I figured, I don't know what I was thinking. The other cat left. He's probably out there training to get his revenge. He's probably out there right now planning ways of just coming into my room one day and feeding me milk and putting me in a box. But that was a very heartbreaking thing to see. The next thing that happened, I don't think it's appropriate to say, but we had to dispose of the kittens that were dead. And I don't know. I mean, I tried to help them. I tried really hard to help them. At the end of the day, there's nothing that I could have done. It just happened. They were very sick, so I don't think I contributed to it. I was trying, like I said, I was just trying to help, but they ended up dying. And yeah. So, thank you all for listening to my story. I'm Blue from Water Glass Hearts. I hope this video wasn't too sad. Thank you all for listening. Goodbye.